The September 15, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting. In compliance with the Open Meeting Act, a current copy of this act is available at this meeting. Madam Assistant Clerk, will you please call roll?
Alarcon. Here. Barr.
Here.
Hemer.
Here.
Jablonski.
Here.
Lopez. Polensky.
Here.
Roth.
Here.
Schilling.
Here.
Council President Jablonski, the roll has been called.
Thank you. I'm assuming this is just a discussion item, so open to the public, whoever wants to voice their opinions on what we're doing, but it's a text amendment to the Columbus Land Development Ordinance regarding home-based businesses and garage sales. Who do we get to have speak to this?
Andy drafted some suggested language, not really recommended, just some ideas based on the comments we've heard from a variety of people. So he's going to present that, and then we could open it up to public comment.
Okay.
Official for City of Columbus. We had complaints and requests from a couple citizens on the regards of home-based businesses and garage sales. Some parts are unclear, especially around the permitted and prohibited areas or uses of the home-based business area. Garage sale sections, the timing and dates that are allowed today compared to what is being requested, suggestions on that. So what I did was I looked at other sister cities on home-based business. We'll start with that part. Home-based businesses, I piled all of our sister cities, Fremont, Norfolk, Kearney, Beatrice, for permitted and prohibited uses of in-home-based businesses. As of today, our code does not read out what is permitted and prohibited. So on the red lines, I piled together all the information from the other cities of prohibited and permitted uses. So there's a section in there, for example, permitted uses, accountant, bookkeeper, attorney, notary. I added some of those use types in the permitted home-based business. Prohibited, I did the same thing. I chased down our sister cities and items like Amazon pallets, garage sale items, resale, estate sales, anything like that was prohibited in most communities. So I added that language and verbiage to the red lines. And then on the garage sale area, suggested by mayor and staff to look at the timing wise of garage sales. Today, in a total 12-month period, we allow 4 garage sales. Suggestion of downsizing it to maybe 2 a year. So I redlined that for discussion as well. I looked at sister cities on that. That would make us more restrictive than any other cities. The lowest is about 3 in a year. The rest are 4 to 6 a year. So open for discussion on the examples that I give and the red lines that I did. If there's any questions that you have for me right off the bat, I can assist in that.
Andy, in what section is this? Chapter 1, Article 6, Supplement Use Regulations. Number 3 is home-based food production. Yep,
so they have the cottage food law, the state of Nebraska law, that allows you to do bakeries, garden items. So that would be an exception to a permitted home-based business use.
Do they have to have a certified kitchen?
They do not, but they're supposed to go through the state of Nebraska Health Department if they decide to sell more than, I don't know the exact number of product.
Okay, good. At one point in time, I was told I couldn't sell honey out of my house because I don't have a certified kitchen.
Yeah, I believe that cottage food law was 2024.
Okay.
So, and on here, we can redline that and change that as well. The LB, whatever number that is, we can get that on there for the exception.
Okay. Thank you.
Andy, who would you see maybe monitoring on the garage sales? I mean, it's kind of, what are you going to have everybody apply for a permit of some sorts to have a garage sale? I mean, because it's kind of hard to know if somebody actually had 1, 2, 5, or 10, other than maybe what somebody's neighbor would say.
Yeah, so right now, as we do yet, is complaint basis. The whole zoning code's pretty well that way. If a fence built on the lot line, we go, we investigate and then we follow through. That's what we do kind of right now with garage sales, the help of code enforcement at the police department, as well as the building department. We just attack together as complaint basis. To get a permit, And, I don't know if that would work or not. For suggestion wise.
Well, I understand the code enforcement such as a fence, but, if I were to have a garage sale tomorrow or this weekend and there's not a complaint, and then I have one in 2 more weeks, how are you gonna know that I had one 2 weeks prior, right?
Yeah, I will not know unless I see enforcements on our online portal.
We currently do like building permits on the kiosk. Couldn't we do a building permit or a garage sale permit off of that as well?
Well, it'd be something we could look into, definitely, if that's,
Well, I would be in favor of putting that in there. That's the only way to monitor that, because not everybody's as honest as Councilman Hemer, and so we want to make sure that,
yeah, as the building department, building official, chasing garage sales, it's hard to enforce garage sales. We'd have to have a pretty much his own employee unless we do something. I'm not sure.
well, maybe we should affix a fee to it. Then we could maybe afford.
That'd be a suggestion brought up.
If it is a problem, and I think if it's that big of a problem, I think we really should look at everything we can to resolve it most efficiently. And I think just to guess who's doing what and who's what and where, I think you need to have at least a permit to do that garage sale.
Yeah, and other sister cities, not much for permitting as well in garage sales. So I think there might be one out of those, I said, out of the sister cities that do permitting wise. How they follow it, I'm not sure. We'd have to chase it and see how they actually regulate. And for cost and fees and all that on garage sales, it's not, being here 8 years, complaints on garage sales, this is the first time we're bringing it to, for extra thoughts and stuff, so.
Yeah, I'd ask, are garage sales really a problem? Or do we have just 2 or 3 bad actors that are utilizing it to a great extent?
Yeah, if you would look at code enforcement, there's not much on garage sales complaints. So code enforcement, and as I overseen them and before time, not too many complaints come in on home-based business and garage sales.
I personally would be against permits. Jiminy Christmas, come on, guys.
Let's take a look at the point of today's meeting and take a broad look at what we're trying to do is to see if there are rules and regulations that can be modified, updated, put into place to try to minimize some of the issues we're seeing. We talk about enforcement. Well, right now, we're talking about what can we do to maybe upgrade or update what we've got. You talk about enforcement, we have speed limits. Does everybody that goes 10 miles over get a ticket? No.
I hope not.
Well, my point is.
But everybody has a driver's license.
But my point is, everybody still has it, I mean, and you say, is it a problem? Maybe not in your neighborhood, but I can find the neighborhood where it is. So I think what we're trying to do is see, are there things we can do? We cannot have Andy and code enforcement running around every day doing this, but can we get our public to understand what they're expected to do? And start with that, upgrade, and yeah, maybe there's got to be a little bit of enforcement. That old adage, cause a little pain and your neighbor hears, tell the kid to stop it and his friends find out, I mean, I think that's what the intent is here today.
I wasn't implying that we would pay for a permit of that sorts, but maybe register that you would have a garage sale to help maybe not necessarily enforce, but make people aware that, or they could research back that, oh yeah, they've had more than one garage sale. Or if it isn't listed and somebody complains or calls, they can look and say, yeah, they registered for it. Might save them a trip out there.
And it might cost the public several trips to comply. Let's make this thing reasonable on both sides.
I have a question for Andy on Article 6, Section B for building use. Is this going to do or have any change to in-home daycares?
No, that's licensed by the state of Nebraska.
Okay, so-
So in-home daycares, it's exempt from all.
Completely
Yep,
different.
they go
Okay.
through a different policy. And that part didn't change at all. That's staying as is, 30% of your main floor. If you got an attached garage, that's part of your main floor structure.
There's one section that you allow occasional pickup of merchandise. Then there is another section where you do not allow any pickup of merchandise. Should that be consistent?
Yeah, what sections or what area? Okay.
You'll have to read through and see where it is. I
Yeah,
just
like I said,
noted
these
it.
are suggested. I took all communities together, piled them all together, made some
Yeah.
type of red line for us to go off of and
Yeah, I
whatever.
mentioned that as I saw,
Yep.
as I rode through it.
Yeah, I think the key, this isn't Andy's recommendation. This is Andy's, hey, guys and gals, this is
Yep.
some ideas that are out there. If you don't want to do anything, you don't want to do anything. If you want to do some things, you talk about it.
Andy, under the professional and administrative services, one item maybe to consider would be dog grooming.
Okay.
I know there are quite a few in town that do that, and you do have barber and beauty services,
Yeah.
not to be confused with the dogs, but might be another line item to add for clarification.
Any other thing for me?
Well, I guess, we continue to always go back to, we have ordinances, but we can't enforce them. That's always the dilemma. And trying to do, if we're going to all this work to figure this out, how do we enforce it? How do we make people accountable? How do we make the public aware of what's going to go on? I know Councilman Roth doesn't want to have people jumping through a bunch of hoops to sell used furniture or used clothes, but I think I hate to use this one, but I'm going to come out, somebody slapped me, fireworks, we had fireworks and we didn't even know what we could do to the ordinance and the penalties for fireworks, and so now we've got an item on the agenda that straightens that out. But if we're going to do all this work, we really need to figure out how we can enforce it and what's best for the residents of Columbus. Neighbors, I think, are the biggest people that get violated by this, and that's the same way with fireworks. They were the biggest people that got, violated by it. So hopefully we can come to a good consensus here and try to make it as easy for staff to monitor this without, I don't know, that's my opinion, but.
What we need to do is make it somehow so it's enforceable.
Yeah, that's,
I get it. You go out and you look at it and you say, you can't do this, you can't do that. Got to get this cleaned up. You can't work on your car in the driveway. And so you got to do something. So you put the parts back on and you go back in a week or two to check on it to make sure he's done something. Well, he's done something, so he's left alone. So pretty quick, he's right back at it again. He's tearing that car apart for parts, or whatever the case may be. Next door to me, there's a trailer there. They live in the trailer on the outside of the driveway. That's because they can't live in the house because it should be condemned. But nothing happens. So somehow we have to make it so they're enforceable.
any other questions for Andy? If not, anybody else would like to speak to this agenda item? Please state your name and address, and you've got 5 minutes.
I'm Harold Henry, excuse me, I live at 3252 Mimic Lane. I'm going to kind of tell you what I did as an alderman in another city. It was pretty easy to enforcement. I'm going to go through a list of things. I had them pay for a garage sale permit. Then you would have a record of it, post the permit in the garage. Sale should consist of only 3 days. the way you have it, it's non-stoppable. Pickup signs after the sale, these are things that you can write in your ordinance. You don't have to worry about enforcement. But pickup signs after the sale. Pick up items left over from the sale. Don't post signs on utility poles or city signs. 5 sales per year, 4 of those 40 days apart, with 1 sale being that of a citywide sale. Once you do that, that takes care of a lot of little tiny ones all the time. In ordinance, remind people they are responsible for making sure people don't park in driveways or in front, such as I have a fire hydrant. These folks over here know what I'm talking about. And as Andy stated, what do you do about estate sales? What do you do about the Dollar Tree sales? And you see those in the neighborhood where they think that they have, as I have, a sales tax permit. You can have a sale and drag it out in the driveway. If you look at state ordinances or obligations, it states in there that, as Andy said, you could use 30% of your house for certain things. What about people selling food? Andy hit on that just a little bit. I talked to the mayor one time about people actually mixing food up. What do you do if some of those people die from some of that stuff? That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
One question, in the city that you were referencing, how was the enforcement of those issues that you just described?
Well, I said I give out a copy of the ordinance in itself. That sort of dictated what the garage sale obligation was to those people.
Okay.
So it kind of took care of itself by that.
Okay.
Now, I'm not here to stand up and criticize the city, but before I started, and I buy and sell a lot of estates, not just in town here, but other places. When you do that, naturally you have to have a sales tax permit. When you do that, then you fall under some obligations to the state, paying quarterly and so on and so forth. You know, I don't see that with estate sales, and I think you touched on that just briefly. But there's people having estate sales, and you're missing out on a bunch of sales tax money from that. The state says that if you have a estate sale, it must be done by an immediate family, meaning son or daughter. It doesn't mean an outside firm. You know, if you have an auctioneer do it, they have to collect sales tax. Same way with an outside firm. Anybody else have any questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Anyone else like to speak to this item?
My name is Bob Markham. I live at 3177 Mimic Lane, across the street from Harold. I wouldn't wish what we've gone through over the last 5 years on anybody setting up there. This gentleman has had over 60 sales in the last 5+ years. There were 3 summers, falls, springs in a row. He had somewhere between 14 and 16. He was having every other week he was having a sale. The state of Nebraska, Department of Revenue, and I got acquainted with that because I complained to the city, we called the police department. Captain Thalkin said, well, there's really nothing that has any teeth. So his suggestion was, he goes, take a picture every time he has a sale. He doesn't have to know you're taking the picture. We're not violating any privacy laws by doing that. And I also took a screenshot of every sale bill he had and started sending those to the state of Nebraska Department of Revenue. Their response was that after 3 days, you're exempt for 3 days in a calendar year, and after that you have to have a sales tax permit and charge sales tax. So I don't know if you've got any sales tax receipts from him out of all those sales, but I sat on the tailgate of my truck one Thursday, because he has, when I say a sale, they're 3 days in length. I sat on the tailgate of my truck and I counted cars one morning. I quit at 300 and I hadn't got to lunchtime yet. So they taper off in the afternoon. Next morning, busy, tapers off in the afternoon. Saturday, You have the people that work on Thursdays and Fridays, so they come Saturday morning. So you have between 800 and 1,000 cars come through your neighborhood in a 3-day period. The people that would not come through our neighborhood had these sales not occurred. So I like Andy, I did some research. Kearney does 2 sales a year. They only have 2 sales a year. South Sioux City, on the other hand, will let you have 4, but you have to register with the city clerk. So there's a way to track it. And they have a system. If you violate it the first time, you get a warning. The second time, you're fined $100. Third time, $250. Fourth time, $500. How that's collected, if that's a police deal or it's code enforcement, it's a way to raise money to pay for it. That's what I'm saying. You could charge a fee, but there again, you can track who's having them and how many. But Kearney allows 2 a year if you register or not. South Sioux City, on the other hand, you have to register. So, and I want to applaud Andy for his due diligence in putting this together. I guess I do have a question. When does it morph from a garage sale into a home-based business? And that would probably alleviate a lot of what we're dealing with in our neighborhood. And it's not just Harold. There are other people around town that do this. There are people that buy pallets from Amazon and sell them on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace and whatnot. So it's not just Harold. We just happen to live in the same neighborhood. But like I said, I applaud his due diligence. But there's got to be a way to track it. And I know enforcing it would be, you'd have to get a little creative there. Who would it fall under now? Home-based business, is that if you violate that, to the police department, do they go out and write, citations for those sort of things? I did do a little research on that with the state of Nebraska. And if I read it right, it cannot be visible from the street. Whatever you're selling has to be inside. You can only have limited traffic during the course of the week, i.e., hair salons and that sort of thing is what it kind of aims at. So, and it forbids the things he's doing. I mean, he'll have 5-6 lawnmowers at a garage sale every time. Bicycles, fishing rods, they'll have a couple hundred fishing rods and reels out there for sale. This goes on for 3 days. He advertises it at 8 to 5, but people start showing up at 6:30. And so, I mean, there again, poor Andy gets caught in the crossfire here, and he's got his butt chewed down. He probably doesn't have much butt left after a couple of these sessions. But like I said, that's what I have. If you have any questions, fire away.
Any questions, Councilman?
I just want to note, Kearney, the actual code reads, garage sales provided the frequency of such sales at any one location shall not exceed 1 during a continuous 2-month period or 4 sales during any 12-month period. I just pulled that off of their zoning code. So Kearney.
I pulled this off too. It says garage sales are allowed in residential properties as long as the frequency of such sales at any one location does not exceed 1 during a continuous 2-month period or 4 sales during a 12-month period. So I stand corrected there, 4 sales. And South Sioux City is very similar, but they do have a little more teeth. And that was always my issue with Todd, or question with Todd, was that what can be done? I mean, so he violates it. What are you going to do, slap him on the hand, tell him not to do it, turn around 2 weeks later, there's a sale again. So it's a fine line, and I know it's not a citywide thing, but if you have it happen in your neighborhood, God help you, Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
You asked about what they determine is a home-based business.
Yes, yeah.
What I've got in front of me is accountant, bookkeeper, or tax preparer, architect, engineer, surveyor, or similar professional, attorney or notary, or insurance and real estate.
Okay.
And that's just office-only type stuff. So.
Right, and that's what Andy had proposed.
Yeah.
In the changes to your home-based business rules would disallow a lot of things that are going on in our neighborhood.
Right.
He wouldn't be able to do that. But when you start, not just frequency of the sales, but what constitutes a home-based business versus a garage sale. When you're selling, he's selling more than kids' clothes and and that sort of things. He sold a boat. If you look at his sale bills, there's everything from firearms to, parts and tools and lawnmowers and things that are not necessarily home things. He's not selling pots and pans and kids' clothes and things like that you normally see at a garage sale. So that's why I asked that question. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Anybody else wish to speak to this item? Council members, what are we tasked here to do?
We need some direction on how you want to finalize this, if you want to bring what's before you forward in an ordinance, I hear that you want more enforcement. We're going to have to talk to legal a little bit more about that, because that is a hurdle with zoning regulations. So we can do that and bring forward some options. Would you like to talk about those options before it comes forward in an ordinance for consideration, or
I think that would be best.
concurrently?
We need that first.
Yeah.
I know there was some conversation about enforcement, Andy and Neil. Can we provide what that was? I hate to stretch this out longer than
Yeah, so
necessary.
right now, the enforcement should be a 10-day calendar written note, and then it's a violation upon conviction. So then it would get sent over to the city attorney, and then the attorney with the council would take it further to the court systems and convict for a misdemeanor of $100 fine. And so to do that, that'd be with the city attorney and council. That's what we have today.
So we can't just issue a fine? If we give the authority to the police department, we can't just issue a fine? If we have the record that they violated the code?
Tara, I'm not going to have the answer for you right now. I'm going to have to look into that because I'm not the one that normally deals with our zoning code in our office. So we can certainly try to get you an answer.
Okay.
In the meantime, maybe we can look at what South Sioux City does and maybe mimic that from some other cities of our size or nature. I hate to kick
we
the
just
can
want-
down the road like Mr. Jablonski always says, but we want to do it right and do it right the first time instead of dragging it on without having accomplishing it.
Something else that could be looked at as you do this is what is our code and our enforcement on, blocking driveways, impeding traffic. These are things that occur, not just in their neighborhood, but around active garage sales regularly. And is that something that needs to be, looked at? How does that play into it? I think that's a huge part of it.
When you're looking at that, that's also playing into the municipal code, not just the zoning
Well-
code for traffic code. So that would bring into the police department.
Well, obviously, I would expect it to bring in the police department in that regard, but I think it's one of the bigger complaints is traffic.
And there is references in this code related to the generation of traffic with these activities.
But then who would be responsible for the traffic? The
In
person?
this, it's the zoning code, like Neil was suggesting, it's the zoning code. But if people park in the street and block traffic, they can get ticketed today.
Right.
If neighbors have that, but if it's just narrow traffic and it's a nuisance, that's not really a traffic violation. And I don't know that we can really write that in as a traffic violation if they're following the code.
I think it needs a little work. Let's put some stuff back together for us. Is that correct, council members?
Yeah.
Is that what we'd like to see? Mr. Roth, are you still awake? Okay, all right. You agree with that, since you don't want to jump through too many hoops?
I'm hoping that we're not making a mountain out of a molehill here. It seems to me we have thousands of garage sales around the city every year, but we only seem to have a problem with 2 or 3 continuous ones. Can we somehow tailor our ordinance to not affect the thousands, but affect the 2 or 3 or 6, whatever, that are a problem.
No, that
you
is
can't.
unconstitutional. You have to apply uniformity in all of your rules. They have to be applied uniformly to all activities.
I understand that, but after you get 2 or 3 complaints about an individual or about a garage sale, one would think that we should be able to mark that as a location to keep an eye on.
Well, part of the question here is who's keeping an eye on it? I mean, that's part, so that's part of what this discussion has to have, so we can try to come up with something on who is keeping an eye on
Well,
it, and what are they keeping an eye on? Traffic, number of garage sales? You know, what is that they're doing? I think that's what this has to start to evolve around.
I would assume that every complaint that comes in is cataloged, is recorded. Somebody can go through that record on a monthly basis and say, hey, we got a problem here.
I think I have time for a little rebuttal. I had 4 garage sales last year. I didn't have 60 or 500 or what have you. And I have records to indicate that. If you have time, I'd like to show them to you.
Okay, so we're going to take a peek at what this looks like and bring it back and for further discussion. With nothing else on the agenda, I move for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Don't need to do that, but thanks. Appreciate it. Get excited. It's your show, Mayor.
Well, we'll give everybody a couple minutes to get situated.